Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. Hello. Hi, Eric. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Kathleen, hi.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Perfect.
Hi, Jay. Nice to meet you.
Likewise. Good to have you here. Those of you who can, please show us your face, so at least we'll say hello. Hi, Claire.
Hi there. I'm going to put myself on mute. I'm helping a friend in her flat, but with overseeing a project while she's out of town. So you'll see some workers behind me. So sorry about that.
Don't worry, that is okay.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
Nice
Hi,
to
Les.
be here.
Salma.
Yes.
Nice to meet you. So please tell us from which parts. I know one of you is from France in the group chat, so let us know in the group chat where you all joining from.
Well, we have friends from Hungary, from Shanghai, London, France.
I think we have a lot of friends from China today. That's great.
Yes.
Şu kameramı kapatayım mı? Sen nereye katıldın? InnoQuotient açtım. Burak bir yandan olduğuna gelmezsen çok güzel.
Can you all mute yourself, please? When, yeah. Luz, do you want to start?
Yes, yes. Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you, all of you here. Thank you very much for being with us today. And thank you for joining us in the Innovation Culture Journey. We will introduce today the InnoQuotient assessment, which is a precise tool to gain a thorough understanding of the organization. It is also essential to develop effective action plans. We hope you can extract today the knowledge and conclusions that help you in these crucial times of change and transformation. Now, please let me introduce you, Jay Rao, our inspiring leader and co-founder of InnoQuotient, professor of strategy and innovation at Babson College in Boston, and with Joseph Weintraub, they designed the innovation culture model in which the InnoQuotient assessment is based. It was published in the MIT Sloan Management Review. And Frank Chuan, he's been the captain of this journey, entrepreneur, and guide of the trip towards innovation based on the tool that we will introduce today. He's also co-founder of InnoQuotient and is the CEO of FrankChuan.com and Dicere Global. And well, some of you have already sent their questions to be answered by Jay and Fran. And if any of you would like to have any particular issue to be addressed today, do so in the chat. We will collect all your questions, and then we will have Jay or Fran to answer them. Okay? So let's begin. We will begin with Jay, please.
Thank you, Luz. Again, a good day to everybody, and a big thank you for your interest in InnoQuotient, a Culture of Innovation survey. Just to give you a little background, and again, before I continue, please raise your hand, please unmute yourself and ask a question even in the during the discussion. I want to make sure that this is informal and friendly, and so that it's a dialogue, and so that will help you kind of understand who we are, and to kind of get the most out of this webinar. So thank you again for being here. And as Luz said, that this kind of started about 7 years ago. And the initial work for the survey itself had kind of started about 9-10 years ago. I have been at Babson for 25 years, and I do a lot of work with large companies, and specifically in the area of innovation and strategy. And many Babson executive education clients have been with Babson for a very long time. Actually, I have a group of French executives coming here for the last 21 years. And this is the first year that they're not coming to Babson because of COVID-19. But anyway, many companies, when they keep coming back to Babson, we used to ask them, why is it that you're coming back for these executive programs? What is it that what is the value you're getting? And so one of the big things that we kept hearing from our clients is that there seems to be a change in the culture. The mindset and the behaviors of our leaders, of our managers, is somewhat different after they go through a program for either 3 days or 1 week or even a 2-week program. Somehow they come and do things differently. They think and act differently. They're much more entrepreneurial. They're much more kind of open to ideas. And so we kept hearing that from many times. And then we said, oh my God, we have never captured that. The word culture has not been captured. So my colleague Joe Weintraub and I, we kind of did a research for nearly about a year to go and look for instruments that was able to capture not just culture, but a culture of innovation. So, and so it was this impetus that actually came from the market that kind of drove us to actually create this instrument. So the research is very deep. We looked at organizational design, organizational dynamics. We looked at climate. We looked at culture. We looked at innovation literatures. And then we kind of looked at the instruments, assessments that actually captured this notion of innovation culture. And then we got it validated, statistically validated. And there's a PhD that has been published in this, how this is a pretty robust model. And it's a academically verified model that actually can be used inside companies for impacting change. And so towards a culture of innovation. And so whether we like it or not, companies that have existed for a while already have cultures. And whether we like it or not, the cultures can be conducive to innovation or not conducive to innovation. And so how can we kind of go from whoever we are today to a much more kind of innovative, creative, entrepreneurial culture? That's the whole journey that we have been on. And Fran joined us, and he took over the journey along with us in 2014. And that has been an amazing journey for us. And again, many of you who are just getting to know us or who know us from before, we have kind of today worked with nearly 400 companies, and we have companies from nearly 20 industries, and different and small, large, and medium companies, and nearly 70,000 kind of respondents globally, and in nearly 8 different languages and multiple kind of dialects of Spanish as well, and so it's been a very fruitful journey for us, and so we would love to share with you what the model is, and how can we use it, and how can we kind of contribute to this family of practitioners and culture leaders to kind of become even better enterprise heroes or enterprise catalysts for change. And so when we kind of looked at the research, what we found is that climate is very different from culture. Climate is only one component of culture. And so that research really came out of early studies that were done at IBM. And so that itself was a big kind of an aha moment for us, because even to this day, many people kind of confuse the two. For instance, the latest pandemic has changed our climate, but it hasn't changed our cultures. So we'll see that our culture is much more robust than climate. And so if you have one bad leader, the climate can change incredibly quickly, but our cultures are much more resilient. And so from that, we kind of really dug deeper into what really makes up culture. And so one of the early works that kind of really helped us was the great Clayton Christensen of disruptive innovation. Unfortunately, Professor Christensen died early this year, but again, he's a very deep researcher and a great he was amazingly good at making things practical and practitioner oriented. And so he was one of the earliest to kind of guide us to kind of look at what are the business building blocks? How do businesses work? And not just businesses, enterprises. It could be not-for-profit, it could be governments, it could be associations, it could be trade groups, NGOs. And so what do we do as an enterprise, not just business? Enterprise has all of these elements of not-for-profit, governance, for-profit. And so enterprises are nothing but people, all of us, we humans, getting together and trying to take our resources and then kind of somehow use those resources in creative ways, and to have projects and processes that ultimately give us some success. And that success could be in cash flow. The success is customers. The success is products. And this outcome could be, value to society. And so on the pure business side, the rational side, what we found is that you have resources, you have processes and projects, and you have your performance or the success metrics. And so all enterprises have this, irrespective of their size, irrespective of their kind of definitions of success, whether for profit or not for profit. And so the building blocks that we kind of came up with were the resources, the processes, and the success definitions. And this is what I call as the sausage making machine. How do you make sausages? You take resources, you put them through this machine, and out come the sausages. And so that we all have. But every company, every enterprise has its own style of doing it. And what is that style of running your business or your organization? And that style is, we have different values, we have different behaviors, and we have a different climate. And so we have this emotional kind of side, not just the rational kind of side, but this very emotional side, the hard business side, and we have that soft emotional side. And so that is what makes every culture unique. You can't just copy one culture to the other culture because our values, our behaviors, and the climate are very unique to who we are. And the journeys that we have taken and the battles we have fought to succeed, those are all the things that makes our culture unique. And so, yes, there is great value in learning about other practices and cultures and climates and so forth, but we can't just go copy 3M's, 20% off policy, or we just can't go and copy Google's Googleplex and magically make it work, is because our cultures are unique. So the 6 building blocks that we came up with are very robust building blocks that is applicable across all cultures. Whether you take the Toyota culture of deep obsession for operational excellence and to lean. And so that is a very specific culture. Or if you were to take the Dyson company's obsession for technology and creating very high-end products, and that is very unique to Dyson. Or the Apple's obsession for customer experience, or Disney's obsession for the guest experience, is what makes all of our cultures unique. So that building blocks itself are very kind of what we call as mutually exclusive and collectively exhaustive. In statistical terms, these 6 building blocks are kind of what create our culture. But we went a little deeper and said, no, we just are not only interested in cultures, but something about innovation, about bringing new things to market, creating new things, kind of having different types of processes that give you an edge in the market. What makes you competitively kind of different? Or what is it that somehow you are able to do things different from your competitors? And so that innovation aspect is what we were looking for, because Babson is about entrepreneurship, and it's about creating companies. Babson is about entrepreneurial kind of leadership. And so when we dug deeper is when we kind of came up with this InnoQuotient framework, where you have these 18 factors that are much more closely related to innovation and entrepreneurial mindset and behaviors. And so, and then the questions that we were asking in order to kind of make these factors actionable. And so the 54 questions kind of, it's about taking a pulse, going to your physician and saying, yes, what is our culture of innovation? What are some of our, strengths? What are some of the gaps? And what are the ways in which we can take some of these gaps and make sure we kind of bridge these gaps? And how can we amplify our strengths and make it even better so that we can leverage these strengths to kind of compensate for those gaps? Those are all the kind of actionable items that leaders are always looking for. And so in our journey this far in nearly 6 years, we have learned a lot in giving feedback to executives and to help them actually act upon the feedback and pick new projects, kind of manage their existing projects, and in the process of going into the future, how to impact their mindset and behaviors of their leaders and their managers. And that kind of really helps them to grow, and in today's climate, to kind of really navigate crises as well. And so let me stop there and kind of hand it over to Fran, because we have actually started on our second journey. We have kind of taken our tools, we have taken our software and our database, and then kind of we are making the services even better, and that's what we want to share with you today. So before I hand it over to Fran, any questions so far, just for a minute or two, just to kind of feel for, are you getting a feel for what the survey is all about? Anything that I can kind of answer before I hand it over to Fran? How's everyone doing? Yeah? Comfortable? Okay. Fran, please.
Sorry, Jay. Yes, I had my mic off. Yes, I have one question for you. Is the InnoQuotient assessment the tool to assess the evolution of the culture of innovation in your company, in our company?
Yeah, absolutely. It is. We usually suggest that once you take this the survey, and then how do you make decisions as to what actions you need to take to improve your culture of innovation. And again, whether it is 2 years from the time or 1 year from the time, how do you kind of how do you track progress and evolution? And so what's the difference between climate and culture? Climate is about, do I want to come and work in this company? Okay, am I energized to come and be a part of this group every day? Do I look forward to coming and working? That's climate. How does it feel to be a part of your team? What does it mean to work here? But culture is much bigger than climate. Climate is just one part, one of the 6 building blocks of culture. Culture is about how we get things done, and how we allocate our resources, how we prioritize our decisions, how we define what are our key performance metrics. All of those are a part of culture as well. So how we get our work done is much more broad than the climate itself. The climate could be a high pressure climate, or the climate could be a relaxed climate, or the climate could be a very friendly climate. In some cases, it could be a very fast-paced climate. But how you do resource allocation, how do you manage your projects, how you kind of define outcomes could be very different as well. So culture is bigger, and climate is one of the 6 components of culture. I hope I kind of answered that. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me now hand over to Fran, and then we'll come back again after Fran's presentations for more Q&A. Okay, thank you.
So thank you to everyone for your time. Thank you for your interest, and thank you to be here. So I can imagine that you have something like 2,000 different options to fulfill this time, and thank you for choosing this option to be with us. It's a pleasure to share with you these experiences, and we are recording all the sessions so you can share and review and take out some insights that maybe you pass or you miss, etc. So what I will try is just to show you the platform in a way that is as we use it with customers along these times, these hard weeks we have. So customers that they run in the previous months, they run the InnoQuotient survey, and we had the data, and we had the opportunity to go through their data to review what could we do. I will share now my screen. So I ask to have this possibility. It's possible. In these moments, I'm trying to share the screen, but Zoom is saying I am not God. So I have to ask for permission to God, the super administrator. Okay, there we are. Okay, are you, I don't know where it's now going on. Are you seeing my screen? Are you seeing now?
Yeah.
InnoQuotient?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
So that is the login screen. So I will use a demo company, which is a real company that we modify to make anonymous, and you will get this user and password so that you can use whatever to explore, to play around, etc. And you will get user and password. So one company log in into the platform, it will see here the main screen. The main screen is showing that this company is the company demo Big Financial. So it's a financial company. It's in the financial and insurance. Is based in Ireland, and the partner who helped this company to run the assessment and later on to find out the insights and define the action plans was IQ Demopar Inc. So if I share that, okay, I will, if I click in this company, oh, sorry, if you see it was just one line, if this company runs several times the InnoQuotient survey, it will appear all the editions they run. So, and we can go through this, the metadata, you can see the metadata, and we can see by departments the data, we can see by categories the data, in graphic or in table. We can see the rest of metadata, which is the metadata based on age of the participants, the distribution. We can see the gender, we can see education. And on the right side, you will see always one icon, which is the arrow, this gray box with an arrow. That means the full screen. So I want just to see this area, this information, but in full screen. Let's see, that is. So you will see this icon around the platform. And at the same time, you will have always the 3 lines icon. This 3 lines icon is, imagine that tomorrow we have a presentation for the board and we need to personalize our presentation. So I will maybe decide I want to have this data. So I can download this data, okay? And I can download in PNG or in GPG and then copy and paste inside my presentation. But the most important thing is not metadata, which is important. The most important thing is that we can always see our own data. And that is what we have here in this screen. In this screen, what we have is, okay, we have the right side and the left side, so the emotional data and the rational data, and we can see here the values and okay, language and English. Let's switch to English, maybe it's easier for you. Okay, excuse me. And then as you can see here on the left side, resources, processes, and success. That is what Jay was explaining. That's the rational part. And on the right side is values, behaviors, and climate, which is the emotional part. So as we can see, I remark the comment and explanation from Jay's, climate is just 1/6 of the world. So climate is how is today, the atmosphere. So if something grave happens, climate is shaked, but culture is much more stable. So I can analyze all this data, and I can see and I can see this data. For example, remarking the top and bottom, the top 10 and bottom 10. And as you can see here, there's the sum elements that are in green. But if I go and say, okay, but this is for the whole organization, how is, for example, let's say sales? Oh, that's different. I'll look at that. We have here one element where sales department is in 2.57/5. So in action-oriented. But for example, in the world, the average in the company is 2.85. So they are much better. So some departments are much better or action-oriented than sales area in the innovation aspects. So, and I can play around and see, for example, the leadership elements. In the 54, there are 9 elements. They are linked with leaders. We can see on the left side, champions. So our leaders are champions of innovation. And on the right side, we have 8 elements more, which are linked to leadership behaviors and attitudes. So leaders inspire us, challenge us, they are model. So they model is they don't just talk, they behave also. And they coach us, so they manage very good the open-ended questions, for example, to stimulate us or curiosity. And they support us, or they are influencer, or they are flexible and in their way, in the journey to explore innovation. Because innovation is many times, it's not a workflow to reach a target. It's much better an exploration journey where you have to decide what is for you will use or what you will not use in a moment. Many innovations along the history are inverse innovations. So they are failures that someone converts into success. One of the most well-known is the Post-it, but of course we have a lot more, like Play-Doh, or for example, the microwave. So that is what leaders can act. So that is like we have had 2 assessments in one. So because we could assess the whole organization and at the same time know how is our leadership style in front of innovation. That is a blue button here on top right. That is for the nostalgic people. Nostalgic people that they run already the assessment a long time ago or last year. So we have companies that are repeating every year, more or less, than to be able to compare the evolution of the culture. So they are used to manage a PDF. And that is the Generate ICI report, Innovation Culture Index report. That is the PDF they were receiving in the past. But for people that are more interaction oriented, we don't need to download those. Of course, we can download always this image or the other in one format or another format to configure or report. And of course, I can filter by blocks, factors, or elements. But one of the most interesting tools that we never had before in the past is if we analyze and explore the data in the base on the metadata. So let's analyze the elements. So it's the lowest level we have on analyze by department, for example, in Graphic Spider. And let's say I want to compare 2 departments. And there we go. So we can see here the R&D and sales, they have several similarities and a lot of differences. So for example, they have here, and we see in red, that for example, they're better in values in R&D than sales, but when it takes to manage and have resources, sales is much better. So we can combine teams from areas and detect opportunities to combine. We can see here 2 different departments switching on and switching off. And we could devote more time to show the functionalities we develop. But let me go through a process that happens in the past. We have a customer that do this situation, this crisis, they decide to invest time to analyze the data with 2 purposes. We want to overcome the crisis, so we want to survive, And the second one is we want to prepare the culture for the next situation, for the future. And they decide to focus to these challenges from two perspectives. One is increased rentability, and the second one is increased agility. So that is what Jace mentioned before. That is the operational excellence, this obsession of operational excellence that, for example, Toyota has. The question is how to detect where to increase or how to act to increase rentability through operational excellence and increase agility. Okay, then let's see. We can go to global and we can see here what happened, where are the elements that we have in red that could block, make more difficult or purpose of increased rentability, so reduce cost, increase productivity, and increase agility, so reduce lack of agility. So we can switch on, for example, maximum and minimum, and we can see here that already we have, so the space to manage projects is a problem. Oops. Top, bottom, okay. And for example, we have a problem with processes, shaping processes, and we have the process of, we have a problem in the flexibility. So we have a problem in prototyping, shaping prototypes, and capture, and flexibility and capture opportunities. So we have there a lot of lacks, but we can see here on the right that one of the bottom elements is bureaucracy, is very, very poor, 249. And how we make decisions is very, very poor, 255. So let's focus here in two elements. So let's reduce bureaucracy and let's increase agility in decisions making. Where to start? Let's see, for example, is R&D a problem there? Oh my God, we cannot start with R&D because they have that in blacks or in green. So there is not a problem at all. And we can go department by department, or we could go there directly, for example, and see that, oh, no bureaucracy in sales department is still worse. It's 208. That's a big disaster. So it's clear that we could start increasing agility, reducing bureaucracy with the sales team. Okay, let's go there. Let's go there and switch off. Let's go to the then and where to start. I can see here, I can make it bigger and I can switch off. I can, let's see, I switch off everything and then I keep here sales. Okay, remember that you can see here the sales non-bureaucracy is 2.08. It's very, very poor. And the decisions making is very, very poor also, 2.747. Who could complement, who could help sales to improve these areas of decisions? As anyone knows, if I put finance people to innovate in a finance problem, the probability to innovate is very poor. We have to create teams where someone is affected by the issue, but other people is ignorant about the issue, because ignorance is a very great accelerator for innovation. Many, many innovations were declared, oh my God, we innovate that point because we were not aware that it was impossible to innovate in this area. So we need people from other areas that complement sales guys. Who could be? Oh my God. One candidate is, look at that, for example, production is very agile, 285 in bureaucracy, so they are much better. Who could be another one? Oh, they are not so good. There's just 2.40 7. And so far, so good. I could detect which is the department that can be a good complement. Let's say, let's make a choose of sales guy and purchasing, because look at the complement very, very well here, because sales is 2.08 and purchasing is 3.0. That means if I put purchasing guys, they are very like used to be agile, so they have no problems with agility or with bureaucracy. They can make maybe questions to salespeople about bureaucracy that maybe we find out opportunities. Okay, that could be how we could manage this tool to detect where to start. For example, we detect with the brain that non-bureaucracy is a problem, and we can detect which is the department which is complementing perfectly the sales department where we want to start. But we can choose, always look at, is education an issue in our company? Let's compare between doctorate, PhDs, and others. So people with a, let's say, fairly poor education, so low education. I look at that, we can see that in front of values, for example, doctorate are poor than others. So it's like they are brave in front of creativity. But once we start to handle innovation, so processes, we can see on the left and we can see on the right in behaviors, the situation is leveraged. So there is not an issue. But what about seniority in the company? Oh my God. If I compare, for example, it's curious because usually we think that people less than 1 year in the company, it should be braver. So more curious or identify themselves more higher rates, higher punctuation in front of exploration and innovation. But we can see in this real case that not. The people with a higher rate for innovation is people between 9 and 15. If I mark and unmark there, I can see that more than 15 years in this company looks like the people is like, come on, very accommodate in the situation, and they lose the curiosity, the imagination, and creativity maybe. So I can take notes. I download all these images to prepare my board's presentation. I will suggest we work together with the sales department, creating teams with sales department and the people from the purchasing, decide purchasing, sorry, and with the seniority in the company between 9 and 15 years, because it looks like they are the better. Okay, that is how I could make my first action plan and create my first presentation for directors or my team or whatever the decisions maker is. So we could play around this tool hours and hours and hours. And of course, you will receive user and password if you run already your assessment. So if we have your data in the InnoQuotient platform, of course, you will receive your user and password. Please let us know, and we will send you directly. And of course, you can navigate along your own data anytime you want, because your data is static until you don't run your assessment again and again and again. Of course, your data is static, but the needs are dynamics. And you can compare the pictures you make in the past, how it fits today. And if you have doubts, you can run again the assessment. Of course, we can have here more information about the rating, the distribution of the data, departments. That is a very interesting, always a very interesting image, which is, okay, that is the 54 elements sorted by the best and the worst in the bottom. But the most important thing is all your company, all culture has strengths and has weaknesses. But the most important thing is that first we identify, and second, we think all the same. We are aligned, we're coherent, that our weaknesses and our strengths are the same. So we identify all the same weaknesses and strengths. So, and we can go through the deviation, and very interesting for the people who doesn't know, who never runs the assessment. Of course, Anna, you have two open-ended questions, which is very interesting to have in the information about participation. So in the assessment in this company participate 424 people, and the vote time for these 424 people, 318 the devote time to write down answers to the two open-ended questions. So 75 people devote time, so they are engaged, and they devote time. 256 they wrote answers, text in the question number 1, which are the things we are doing fine, and 380 people, 318, they devote time to write down answers to which are our improvement areas. So there's curiosity there, and of course we can analyze the number of words, and of course we can go through the questions, exactly the questions that of course they are wrote in the original language. So when one company wants to run the assessment, has all these languages available, so a large company with employees around the world, each employee could answer the assessment in their own language. Of course, so far we have it already in the system. And I will close the presentation.
Fran, you want to stop sharing your screen?
Are you hearing the video?
Yeah, can you stop? No.
Are you not hearing the video?
No.
Hi, I'm Polia. What? You don't know InnoQuotient? If you want to encourage an innovative culture, InnoQuotient is the best tool to assess the culture of innovation in your organization. Wait. I'll explain more. First, enroll your associates to take the InnoQuotient survey.
Fran, we can't see the
Once
video.
they have completed it, check your results. These innovation culture metrics will help you to define efficient action plans. But don't get overwhelmed with so much data. You can focus either by blocks, factors, or elements. You can also see the results for the whole organization or department or region in particular. InnoQuotient compares the results between departments, categories, and other segments too. Hey, and if you want to have a better view, you can go to the full screen and download it as an image. But that's not everything. If you want to know more, please contact us.
Fran, we can see the video.
So, did you see the video?
No, we didn't.
Oh my God.
Okay.
No, you
warning.
were sharing the survey still, okay? Could you please try again?
Actually, we'll email the video to everybody. Just let's go for Q&A. Let's go for the question and answers.
Okay.
Yeah, we can email it.
Hi, I'm Polia. What? You don't know InnoQuotient? If you want to encourage an innovative culture, InnoQuotient is the best tool to assess the culture of innovation in your organization. wait. I'll explain more. First, enroll your associates to take the InnoQuotient survey. Once they have completed it, check your results. These innovation culture metrics will help you to define efficient action plans. But don't get overwhelmed with so much data. You can focus either by blocks, factors, or elements. You can also see the results for the whole organization, or department, or region in particular. InnoQuotient compares the results between departments, categories, and other segments too. Hey, and if you want to have a better view, you can go to the full screen or download it as an image. But that's not everything. If you want to know more, please contact us.
So excuse me for the failure. I forget to share properly the screen, so it's my first time. Please don't fire me. So I wish it was a nice explanation. Of course, this video is available for you if you have the curiosity, if you are interested to share with people. And this demo video was produced by Pixar InnoQuotient. So I want to share 10 seconds history. We were thinking about subcontract a company to make the video, and suddenly we discovered internal talent, and we create everything inside, and we are proud that maybe in the future we will never again working with InnoQuotient but producing videos for the wall. I don't know, maybe Pixar, be afraid. Thank you for your time, thank you for your interest, and we will please to answer any question you have.
I have one question here, friend.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. What is the differentiation factor of InnoQuotient versus other tools to measure innovation?
So,
Jay.
Frank, go ahead.
First differentiation element is that InnoQuotient is our survey. We are proud of the tool. Second differentiation element is that many organizations, they use it and we can prove success. Third is element is what we are measuring culture, because for us, innovation is the consequence of innovation, of the culture. And fourth element, I will say that is very interesting, is that we, as Jay mentioned and described the process to define the tool, they were exploring how to measure culture to trigger innovation. That suddenly we used 3 times with companies they merge. So 2 companies, they were planning to merge, and they ran the assessment and they defined the action plan based on InnoQuotient's surveys, and the merge was perfect. So we have several experiences, but what it's like if you ask to a father, what about the sons? So we are very proud. They are growing satisfactorily and they are creating value for customers. So we don't know exactly which are others. Many others are just focused on results, but innovation is an attitude. I don't know how many surveys exist in the market measuring cultures.
No, there are a lot of surveys. Almost all the large consulting companies, they have their surveys. And in the early days, the Society for Quality in Spain chose our survey against many other large company surveys. And for example, McKinsey, BCG, Bain, they all have their own surveys. And we asked them why they chose our survey for all their association members. And the response we got is that our survey has many more behavioral and mindset components than just purely the rational elements. So most of the surveys that exist outside only focus on the traditional process metrics and financial metrics and resource allocation, and much less on the values, behaviors, and climate.
Thank you, Jay. I have another question here. Can we use international benchmark IQ data?
Frank?
So we are developing two new tools. We are developing a tool which will compare the evolution between different editions of the survey of one company. So many companies, they run more than 2 times the surveys. And this tool will be, as the second one, both will be in September available. The second tool is external benchmark. That means that we can compare the data from one company to the outside world. The outside world in our database, of course. You cannot download the data, but you can use the tool to make external benchmark comparisons.
Okay, thank you, Frank. There is something else here. According to your experience, what is the minimum number of participants in the survey to have a meaningful results?
So the one very important element is anonymity. So that the people doesn't, that the participants, that nobody can detect who answered what. The issue is less than 20 people in an organization or in a department make less than 20, make easier to detect who was, because we have metadata. Imagine an organization that met with 10 people and we ask, which is your range of age, how long are you in the company, and which is your gender. So maybe it's just one person in the whole organization with matching these 3 characteristics. So we see more than 20 people already is working, but of course we have defined the metadata in a way that together with the customer we do it that, so that in a way that we don't make easy to detect who was what, who answered what. Okay, so anonymity is very important. So around above 20 is fine.
Thank you. There is something else. What is the 5% margin of error, Fran?
Sorry?
What is the 5% margin of error?
Jay, you are PhD in some materials like that.
Okay, so this is based on statistical sampling. Okay, and so one is the population of the organization, and the second is the sample we take. And so for say 3% margin or a 5% margin error, what we suggest are, suppose you have 1,000 people in your entire organization, and you want a 3% margin error or not a 5% margin error. We actually have a spreadsheet, we'll give it to you to kind of show what's the minimum number of respondents that are needed to have a 3% margin error, and how many respondents are needed for a 5% margin error. So we can actually give you guidance in terms of how confident you are about the results of the survey.
Thank you, Vijay. Let me see if I have something else here. I have this comment from Claire Masson. I would like to share with you. She says, "Thank you, Jay and Fran. It is wonderful to see the interactive dashboard. The survey results contain a lot of rich information. The dashboard frees the data to help us act on the information. Well done."
Thank you. Thank you, Claire, for coming to the program. Yeah. No, I can see Michelle also. Thank Michelle. Yeah. Good to meet you as well.
Well, yeah, nice meeting you.
And Michelle has a question. about the open question. Yeah.
Yep. I think in the past, you couldn't really accommodate open questions in the end. It has to be inserted into the metadata, general data in the front. So it's kind of weird for people to fill out those questions at the beginning before they actually complete the survey. So because I'm seeing all the changes with the online tool, I was wondering if that somehow can be accommodated in the future.
There is a reason why the open questions are at the end of the survey. One of the reasons is that we have found that many people who don't have, most people don't have a lot of experience in the area of innovation, okay? And there's a lot of misunderstanding about innovation as well. And so asking them a lot of questions helps them to think about what are the different aspects of innovation that they have to be thinking about. And so when we actually ask them to give their opinion in the very end, they are much more focused. And then they're able to describe much better what is working and what is not working. So if you give the questions up front, what happens is that we get very generic answers. And it doesn't give us good guidance as to what you should actually do. So the qualitative questions are very important for taking action, because many of the answers already exist within the company. So the experts who are actually doing the work have very good answers, okay? And so by really asking them a lot of questions, it broadens their horizon. They're able to think much bigger, okay? And so when we did the early pre-tests, that's what we found.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's maybe I didn't clearly articulate my question. So when I talk about the open question, I wasn't talking about the general data information. I was talking about questions that the company wants to ask specifically. That's not included. That's not included in the innovation survey instrument. So they want to ask something specific to their company, for example. And I think I did this. I used this tool for the company twice, and my experience was the online survey itself, because of certain limitations, it cannot accommodate the additional questions from the organization. And there is a workaround. The workaround is to put the questions in the front along with the general data information, and not at the end of the survey. That's why I'm wondering if this something can be changed or accommodated in the future, because it's a common request for companies to want to add additional questions of their own into a survey.
That's very important. Thank you for that feedback. Yes. Yeah, we have asked this, we have gotten this many times, this request, and hopefully now that our platform is much more dynamic, we could be able to accommodate some of that.
Okay. Yeah, I do have to say I'm really impressed with this new online tool, with the ability for the client to be able to extract data in a more flexible way. Yeah, that's very impressive. I really like it. Thanks.
Thank you. Fran, you want to say anything about that?
No, Anna, Michelle, thank you very much for you are always so proactive and introducing proposals. The question is that we have to balance always, because we get many times the request from customers to try to introduce new questions to the survey. It's like, well, once we are convoking the people to participate in an assessment, let us now ask the people if whatever the question is. We have to be very careful. Don't introduce questions that are not related to, for example, in your case, about innovation, because We get requests to introduce questions about something that has nothing to do with innovation. And of course, if we start with this new question from customer, when they come to the innovation survey, then the answer is whatever the thing. So we perceive the quality of the data is downshifting. So we have to be very careful. And with a new platform, I think we will be more, I'm sure we will be more flexible to this, but always very careful that the questions requested from customer are related to the topic we are talking about, because or else we are degrading the data.
Yeah, I agree, and I fully understand that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Fran.
Any other questions and comments? Yeah, Luz?
No, I think that time is just you know.
So I would like to thank very much. I don't know everyone in who participate, but I see here people from Vinci in France. Sylvain already left, and for the names I'm seeing, I deduct many people, or some of you are from Hungary. So because we have a nice partner in Budapest, so welcome as a partner, and thank you for your interest, and looking forward to have a lot of success together. And many people from China. We have a partner, Eric Chang, and we have people who is interested to be partners of in China. It will be a pleasure to attend any request you have, because innovation is a must. Innovation moves comfortably in uncertainty. And we are, if you seek, you're curious in Google Trends, you will discover that the most used word in Google Trends is uncertainty. Oh my God, this is the word, the environment of innovation. Long life to innovation, long life to curiosity, imagination, and creativity. Long life for new value in this new world. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your curiosity, imagination, and creativity.
Thank you, everybody.